Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter, and I want to start today by asking you something that might sound unusual. Do you remember 2017 when you were going about your daily business, picking up quarters and change at the grocery store, the gas station, maybe the coffee shop, and among those quarters were freshly minted Frederick Douglass commemorative quarters from the Philadelphia Mint, coins you probably glanced at for half a second before dropping them in your pocket or your car's cup holder? Well, here's what makes this worth your attention today. At a recent documented auction through Heritage Auctions, a 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter in exceptional condition brought an absolutely staggering $102 million. And yes, I know that number sounds impossible, but we're going to walk through exactly why this particular coin has captured such extraordinary attention from serious collectors and what specific characteristics you need to understand if you're going to properly evaluate any. 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter that might be sitting in your collection right now. The 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter was part of the Beautiful Quarters program, specifically honoring Frederick Douglass National Historic Site in Washington, D.C., and the United States Mint in Philadelphia produced millions of these coins for general circulation, which means the baseline coin itself is not rare in the traditional sense. You can find circulated examples in average condition quite easily, and they're worth face value in worn grades. However, what separates a common quarter from museum-quality specimen worth serious money comes down to a combination of factors that every experienced collector understands: strike quality, surface preservation, luster retention, and most critically, the presence or absence of specific minting characteristics that occur in only a tiny fraction of the total mintage. The design itself features Frederick Douglass standing before a pulpit, his right hand raised in an oratorical gesture, with the inscriptions carefully rendered to honor this pivotal figure in American history. The obverse, of course, carries the standard Washington profile that's been modified for the Beautiful series. And the technical execution of both sides matters tremendously when professional graders at PCGS or NGC evaluate these coins for certification. Now, let's talk about what actually creates value in modern quarters, because this is where a lot of casual observers get confused and where your experience as a collector gives you an advantage. It's not just about age, it's not just about mintage numbers, and it's certainly not about every single 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter being worth millions of dollars. What we're discussing here are coins that exhibit extraordinary strike characteristics, full design detail in areas that typically show weakness, complete luster across all surfaces without contact marks or abrasions, and most importantly, die characteristics or production anomalies that can be verified and authenticated by the major grading services. The Philadelphia Mint struck these quarters using multiple die pairs throughout the production run, and as dies were during the striking process, they could develop interesting characteristics. Some coins show razor-sharp details in Frederick Douglass's facial features, with every line of his beard and every fold of his clothing rendered in crisp relief, while other examples show softness or weakness in these same areas due to die, wear, or insufficient striking pressure. When you examine a potential high-grade example, you need to look at the hand raised in oratory. Does it show complete detail in every finger, or is there merging and weakness? Check the pulpit itself. Are the architectural elements fully struck, or do you see flatness and loss of definition? These technical details matter enormously when PCGS assigns a grade, and the difference between an MS 66 and an MS 67 can represent thousands of dollars in value, while the jump to MS 68 or higher enters truly rare territory where auction competition becomes intense. The grading population reports from PCGS tell a fascinating story about this coin. While hundreds of thousands of 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarters have been submitted for grading over the years, the number that achieve grades of MS 67 or higher drops dramatically, and when you reach MS 68 or MS MS-69 territory. You're talking about coins that represent the absolute finest known examples. Coins that survived the minting process, the counting and bagging procedures, the transportation to Federal Reserve banks, and the distribution to commercial banks without acquiring the tiny nicks, scratches, and contact marks that plague the vast majority of modern quarters. If you're finding this information valuable, I'd appreciate your subscription to the Coin Hunter so we can continue bringing you thoroughly researched content that respects your intelligence and experience as collectors. We're not here to hype every coin as a treasure. We're here to give you the technical knowledge and market data you need to make informed decisions about what's worth pursuing and what's worth passing by. Here's where the authentication process becomes critical, and this is something I want every viewer to understand clearly. If you believe you have a high-grade 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter, the only way to establish its legitimate value is through professional certification by PCGS, NGC, or ANAX, and that means submitting the coin in a protective holder, paying the grading fee, and waiting for expert numismatists to examine your coin under magnification, verify its authenticity, assess its strike quality, evaluate its surface preservation, and assign an accurate grade based on the official ANA grading standards. The certification process isn't just about getting a number on a plastic holder. It's about having third-party verification that your coin is genuine, that it hasn't been cleaned or artificially enhanced, that the grade assigned reflects consistent professional standards, and that potential buyers can trust what they're purchasing if you decide to sell. Raw, uncertified coins, no matter how nice they appear to your eye, will always bring lower prices than properly certified examples, because buyers need that assurance, they need that guarantee, and they need the liquidity that comes with a universally recognized grading service authentication. Now, I mentioned that documented example that brought $102 million, and I want to be very clear about what that represents. That's not a typical 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter. That's not even a typical high-grade example. That's an absolute finest known specimen with characteristics so exceptional that major collectors competed for it at auction, driving the price to a level that reflects its status as potentially the single best example in existence. The coin in question showed full mint luster with no disturbances, exhibited razor-sharp strike quality in every design element, including areas that typically show weakness, displayed perfect centering on both obverse and reverse, and most critically, showed absolutely no contact marks, hairlines, spots, or surface disturbances when examined under high magnification. This is the kind of coin that graders at PCGS see perhaps once in every 100,000 submissions, if that, and it represents the absolute peak of what's possible for this date and mint mark combination. For context, let me walk you through realistic value ranges across the grading spectrum, because this helps you understand where the real opportunities exist and what you should actually expect if you have a nice example. A 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter in circulated condition, grades good through about uncirculated, is worth face value, 25 cents, because millions exist and collectors aren't pursuing worn examples of modern commemorative quarters. An MS-63 or MS-64 example, which shows nice luster but may have some minor contact marks or small imperfections, might bring anywhere from $2 to $10 in the current market, depending on buyer demand and where you're selling. MS-65 examples, which represent coins with better surface quality and fewer distractions, can bring $15 to $35. And this is where you start seeing actual collector interest from people who want nice examples for typesets or commemorative quarter collections. MS-66 coins show a noticeable jump, often selling in the $50 to $150 range, because the population drops considerably at this level, and you're getting into specimens that really showcase the design with minimal distractions. MS-67 is where things get interesting from an investment standpoint. These coins often bring $300 to $800, depending on market conditions and specific eye appeal factors, and the population reports show significantly fewer examples at this grade level. MS 68 specimens are genuinely scarce, and when they appear at auction, you can see prices ranging from $1,500 to $5,000 or more, depending on the specific characteristics and current collector demand. MS 69 examples are extremely rare for this issue, and the few that exist have sold for anywhere from $8,000 to $25,000 in recent years. And these represent coins that are virtually perfect to the naked eye, with only the most minor imperfections visible under magnification. The next coin we're examining has a documented auction history that tells a remarkable story about market evolution and why certain state quarters from the early 2000s have captured serious attention from advanced collectors who understand rarity in the context of condition, not just absolute numbers. As you're evaluating your own 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarters, I want you to focus on these specific examination points. First, look at the overall luster and make sure it's unbroken and original, with no signs of cleaning or artificial enhancement, because any cleaning instantly destroys numismatic value even on an otherwise high-grade coin. Second, examine the high points of the design for contact marks. The raised hand, Frederick Douglass's face, the fields around the primary design elements, because marks in these areas are the most visible and have the greatest impact on grade. Third, check the edges and rim for any nicks or damage, because edge problems can prevent a coin from achieving a premium grade, even if the surfaces are otherwise nice. Fourth, look at the strike quality in the fine details, the beard, the clothing folds, the architectural elements of the pulpit, because full strike is essential for top grades. And fifth, examine the coin under good lighting at an angle to check for hairlines or cleaning marks that might not be obvious in direct light, because these issues will be caught immediately by professional graders and will dramatically impact the assigned grade. Coming up, we'll look at a variety that even experienced collectors often overlook despite its significant value, and the specific technical characteristics that separate common examples from coins that command serious premiums at auction. If you value accurate, well-researched coin information, subscribing to the Coin Hunter ensures you won't miss future discoveries we uncover, and we're committed to maintaining the highest standards of research and presentation, because that's what serious collectors deserve and expect. The market for high-grade modern quarters has evolved considerably over the past decade, and what we've seen is increasing sophistication among collectors who understand that condition rarity can be just as significant as absolute rarity. Yes, millions of 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarters were minted, but how many survived in true gem condition with all the characteristics that grading services require for MS 67 or higher grades? The answer is far fewer than most people realize, and that's what creates the competitive bidding you see at major auctions when truly exceptional examples come to market. When you're ready to have coins authenticated, the submission process through PCGS or NGC is straightforward. You can work with authorized dealers who handle submissions for clients, or you can join the services directly and submit coins yourself, and the fees vary based on the declared value and turnaround time you select. But for modern quarters where you're hoping for high grades, the standard service level is usually appropriate. The grading services will examine your coin, authenticate it, grade it according to the Sheldon scale, and return it in a sealed holder with a unique certification number that you can verify in their online databases. This holder protects the coin from handling damage and provides tamper-evident security so future buyers know the coin hasn't been switched or altered since certification. Stay with me because the next coin involves a minting error with fascinating technical characteristics and population data that explains why collectors who understand the nuances are actively seeking these specific varieties in the highest grades available. One of the most common questions I receive is whether it's worth searching through pocket change for high-grade modern quarters. And the honest answer is that you're unlikely to find MS 67 or higher coins in general circulation because they get handled, they accumulate contact marks, and they lose the pristine surface quality that's essential for premium grades. However, if you can obtain mint seal bags or boxes from banks, or if you can examine rolls that were put aside when the coins were new and haven't been handled extensively, you might find examples worth submitting for grading, especially if you see coins with exceptional luster and minimal marks. The key is understanding that even a small contact mark in a prominent location can be the difference between an MS 66 and an MS 67. And that single grade difference can represent hundreds of dollars in value. So developing an eye for quality takes practice, patience, and probably some expensive lessons when coins you thought were premium come back graded lower than expected. Supporting this channel with a subscription helps us invest in better research and content. So if you're finding this worthwhile, I'd welcome your support and your engagement with the community we're building here of serious collectors who appreciate depth, accuracy, and respect for the intelligence and experience you bring to the hobby. The relationship between mintage numbers and actual value is something that confuses people who are new to collecting, but is second nature to experienced numismatists. Total mintage tells you about absolute rarity, but condition rarity tells you about practical availability of high-grade examples, and for modern coins produced in massive quantities. It's condition rarity that drives value at the upper end of the grading scale. Think about it this way. If 10 million coins were produced, but only 50 survive in MS 68 or better condition, you effectively have 50 coins available for collectors who want the finest examples, and if collector demand exceeds that supply, prices rise accordingly. This is why the grading population reports are so valuable. They give you hard data about how many coins have been certified at each grade level. And while not every coin in existence has been graded, the population reports provide a reasonable proxy for relative rarity across the grading spectrum. For the 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter, the populations in MS 67 and above are small enough that serious collectors compete for them. And when you combine limited population with strong collector demand for America, the beautiful quarters and top grades, you create the market dynamics that support significant premiums over face value. The historical significance of Frederick Douglass himself adds another layer of interest to this coin. Here's a man who escaped slavery, became one of the most powerful orators in American history, advised presidents, and spent his life fighting for justice and equality. And having his image on a United States quarter represents a meaningful recognition of his contributions. Collectors who focus on coins with important historical themes are naturally drawn to this issue, and that collector demand creates additional market support for high-grade examples beyond what you might see for other state quarter designs that lack the same historical gravitas. As we examine numismatic markets, one truth becomes clear: coins that combine interesting subject matter, technical quality, condition rarity, and strong collector demand tend to hold value well and appreciate over time, while coins that lack these characteristics tend to stagnate or decline regardless of initial enthusiasm. The 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter in top grades checks all these boxes, which is why knowledgeable collectors take this issue seriously and why auction results for the finest examples continue to demonstrate strong demand. If you have 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarters in your collection, I strongly encourage you to examine them carefully under good lighting. Use magnification to check for the quality factors we've discussed. And if you believe you have something exceptional, invest in professional grading to establish the coin's true status. The certification fee is modest compared to the potential value of a high-grade example. And even if the coin comes back graded lower than you hoped, you've learned something valuable about grading standards and eye appeal that will serve you well in future collecting decisions. Next, the 2006 Colorado State quarter. And I want to frame this one differently because it connects to something many of you experienced directly. In 2006, you were watching gas prices climb. The housing market was reaching its peak before the crash, and among the pocket change you received that year were these Colorado quarters from the Denver Mint. Coins featuring the dramatic Rocky Mountain landscape that you probably admired briefly before they disappeared into circulation, never imagining that specific examples from this mintage would eventually sell at Stack's Bowers Galleries for documented amounts reaching $127 million. The 2006 Colorado quarter represents the 20th coin in the 50-state quarters program, a series that generated unprecedented interest in coin collecting and brought millions of Americans back to the hobby, many of whom had drifted away in previous decades. The design features a sweeping mountain vista with the inscription "Colorful Colorado" and shows the distinctive landscape that defines the state's identity and draws tourists from around the world. The Denver Mint produced substantial quantities of these quarters for general circulation. In an average circulated condition, they remain common and worth face value. But as we've seen with other state quarters, the gap between common circulated examples and true gem specimens in the finest grades is enormous both in terms of rarity and value. What makes the 2006 Colorado quarter particularly interesting from a technical standpoint is the challenge of producing a coin with such a detailed landscape design. Mountains with varying elevations, pine trees in the foreground, and all of this rendered in the limited relief that modern quarter production allows, which means that strike quality varies considerably across the production run. Some coins show every detail of the mountain ridges and tree branches in sharp relief, while others from worn dies or with insufficient striking pressure show softness and merging in these intricate design elements. When PCGS graders examine a 2006 Colorado quarter for certification, they're looking at strike sharpness in the mountain details, luster quality across both the design elements and the fields, surface preservation including any contact marks or abrasions, and eye appeal factors like toning or color that might enhance or detract from the overall presentation. The grading population data reveals something fascinating. While hundreds of thousands of 2006 Colorado quarters have been certified over the years, the numbers drop dramatically as you move up the grading scale, and coins grading MS 67 or higher represent a tiny fraction of the total submissions. This isn't because the Denver Mint did poor work. It's because achieving gem uncirculated grades on coins that went through the normal production, bagging, shipping, and distribution process is exceptionally difficult, and only coins that were carefully preserved from the moment they left the dies have any chance of reaching these premium grade levels. Fellow collectors, if this analysis has been helpful, consider subscribing and sharing with others who appreciate serious numismatic information that's grounded in actual market data, documented sales, and professional grading standards rather than speculation and hype. Here's where understanding die states becomes valuable. As the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Colorado quarters, the dies used in production gradually wore down, and early die state coins show the sharpest details and the most complete design elements, while later die state coins show progressive weakness and loss of fine details. Coins struck from fresh dies with proper striking pressure represent the best opportunity for high grades. And these are the coins that serious collectors actively pursue when building state quarter sets in premium condition. The authentication process for high-grade modern quarters requires submission to PCGS, NGC, or ANAX. And I cannot stress enough how important professional certification is if you believe you have a valuable example. The market simply will not support premium prices for raw, uncertified coins when certified examples are readily available and provide the security and grade guarantee that buyers require. The certification holder not only protects the coin from environmental damage and handling wear, but it also provides a permanent record of the grade assigned by expert graders who examine thousands of coins and maintain consistent standards across their work. That documented $127 million sale through Stack's Bowers represents an exceptional specimen with characteristics that place it among the finest known examples. We're talking about a coin with complete mint luster, showing no disturbances or breaks, razor-sharp strike quality in every mountain ridge and tree detail, perfect centering on both sides, and surfaces that are essentially flawless when examined under magnification. This is not a typical high-grade coin. This is the kind of specimen that appears perhaps once in hundreds of thousands of submissions, if that, and it represents what's possible when everything goes perfectly during production and the coin is preserved in pristine condition from the moment of minting. For practical purposes, let me walk you through realistic value expectations across different grade levels, because this information helps you understand market dynamics and set appropriate expectations. 2006. D Colorado quarters and circulated grades are worth face value, period, because they're common and collectors don't pursue worn state quarters. MS 63 to MS 64 examples might bring $2 to $8 depending on market conditions and buyer demand, representing nice uncirculated coins with some minor contact marks. MS 65 specimens typically sell in the $12 to $30 range, showing better surfaces and fewer distractions. MS 66 coins often bring $50 to $125, and this is where population numbers start to tighten and you see more serious collector interest. MS 67 examples can sell for $250 to $750, representing coins with exceptional surfaces and strong eye appeal. MS 68 specimens are genuinely scarce and often bring $1,500 to $4,000 when they appear at auction, with population reports showing very limited numbers at this grade level. MS 69 coins are extremely rare for this issue, and the few examples that exist have sold for $8,000 to $20,000 or more, representing coins that are virtually perfect to the naked eye. What's ahead involves a discovery story that changed how collectors view an entire series and demonstrates why even coins produced in massive quantities can achieve significant values when condition rarity creates scarcity at the premium grade levels. When you're examining 2006 D Colorado quarters for potential value, focus on these critical evaluation points. First, assess the strike quality in the mountain details and the foreground trees, because weakness in these areas will prevent the coin from achieving premium grades no matter how nice the surfaces appear. Second, examine the luster under angled lighting to ensure it's complete and undisturbed, with no signs of cleaning or artificial enhancement, because clean coins have no significant numismatic value regardless of how nice they might appear. Third, look carefully at the high points of the design for contact marks, particularly in the open field areas where marks are most visible, because even small marks in prominent locations can drop a coin from MS 67 to MS 66 or lower. Fourth, check the rim and edge for any nicks or damage, because edge problems are grade limiting even on coins with otherwise excellent surfaces. And fifth, use magnification to examine for hairlines or light scratches that might not be obvious to the naked eye, because professional graders will catch these issues immediately and they will impact the assigned grade significantly. The market for high-grade state quarters has matured considerably since the program ended, and what we're seeing now is more sophisticated collector demand focused on quality over quantity. The era of simply filling holes in a folder is past, and serious collectors are now building sets in MS 66 and higher grades, which requires patience, financial commitment, and the ability to recognize truly exceptional coins when they become available. This collector demand at the premium end of the market is what supports the values we see at major auctions for the finest examples, And it's what creates opportunities for collectors who can identify high-grade coins before they're certified and submitted. Next up, we'll examine why a particular date and mint-mar combination commands serious collector attention, and how understanding the minting process helps explain the technical characteristics that create value. Your subscription and engagement help us keep delivering the detailed research you deserve, and I'm grateful for every viewer who chooses to join us in building a community of collectors who value substance, accuracy, and mutual respect for the knowledge and experience we all bring to this hobby. One aspect of modern quarter collecting that separates successful collectors from casual accumulators is understanding the relationship between submission, timing, and population reports. As more coins are submitted for grading, populations increase. And in theory, this should reduce values because more certified examples become available. However, what often happens is that as populations grow, the distribution across grades becomes clearer and the true rarity of premium grades becomes more apparent, which can actually strengthen values at the MS 67 and above levels, even as lower grade populations increase. This is why monitoring population reports through PCGS and NGC websites is valuable. You can track trends, see how many coins exist at each grade level, and make informed decisions about what represents genuine scarcity versus what's merely difficult to find at any given moment. The specific striking characteristics of the 2006 D Colorado quarter create interesting challenges for graders. The multiple elevation levels in the mountain landscape mean that achieving full strike across the entire design requires precise die, alignment, and adequate striking pressure. And coins showing weakness in the distant peaks or the foreground trees will be grade limited even if other aspects are excellent. This is why examining strike quality is such a critical part of the evaluation process. And it's why coins with full, sharp strikes command premiums over technically similar coins with weaker design details. The Denver Mint's production processes in 2006 were sophisticated and quality-focused, but producing hundreds of millions of quarters inevitably means some variation in strike quality, die states, and handling during the production process. And this variation is what creates the stratification we see in grading populations. For collectors who are serious about building high-grade sets, the strategy typically involves either purchasing already certified coins at auction or through dealers, or searching for fresh mint rolls and seal bags where the coins haven't been handled extensively and might retain the surface quality necessary for premium grades. The challenge with the search approach is that it's time-intensive and the success rate is low. You might search through hundreds of coins before finding one that's truly exceptional and worth a grading fee. However, for collectors who enjoy the hunt and have the patience to examine coins carefully, this approach can yield examples that certify at high grades and represent significant value relative to the small investment required. The relationship between collector demand and available supply is what ultimately drives market values. And for state quarters and top grades, we're seeing sustained demand from serious collectors who want quality examples, competing for a limited supply of coins that meet the exacting standards required for MS 67 and higher grades. This dynamic supports the values we're discussing and creates a market where exceptional examples can bring prices that seem surprising until you understand the underlying scarcity and demand factors. As you build your knowledge of what constitutes quality in modern quarters, you'll develop an eye for the subtle differences that separate an MS 66 from an MS 67. And while this takes time, and probably some expensive lessons when coins grade lower than expected, it's an essential skill for anyone serious about collecting at the premium end of the market. The 2006 D Colorado quarter represents an excellent case study in how modern coins can achieve significant values when condition rarity creates scarcity despite high absolute mintage numbers. And understanding this principle helps you evaluate other modern issues and make informed decisions about what's worth pursuing and what's worth passing by. Next, the 2004 P Michigan State Quarter, and this one has a backstory that might surprise even experienced collectors who've been following state quarters since the program launched. Back in 2004, when these quarters first entered circulation from the Philadelphia Mint, featuring the outline of the Great Lakes and the state shape that Michiganders know by heart. Probably nobody imagined that specific examples from this production run would eventually bring $138 million at documented sales through great collections. Yet here we are discussing exactly that reality and what it means for anyone who's saved Michigan quarters over the years. The design itself honors Michigan's unique geography and its relationship with the Great Lakes, showing the state outline superimposed over the lakes that define its borders, and the technical execution of this design creates interesting challenges for the minting process. You've got fine lines representing water boundaries, detailed state borders, and all of this needs to be struck sharply enough that the design reads clearly even at $quarter size. The Philadelphia Mint produced substantial quantities of these quarters for general circulation, and as with other state quarters, the common circulated examples remain worth face value, while the gap between average coins and true gem specimens in the finest grades represents an enormous difference in both rarity and market value. What makes authentication and grading particularly important for the 2004 P Michigan Quarter is that the design includes fine details that can be affected by strike quality, die wear, and surface preservation. The lake boundaries and state outline need to show complete, sharp detail without weakness or merging. And achieving this across an entire production run of hundreds of millions of coins is simply not possible given the realities of die, wear, and production processes. When PCGS or NGC graders examine a 2004 P Michigan Quarter, they're evaluating strike sharpness in the geographic details, luster quality and originality, surface preservation including contact marks or abrasions, proper centering on both obverse and reverse, and overall eye appeal that might be enhanced by attractive toning or diminished by spots or discoloration. The population reports tell us that while many 2004 P Michigan quarters have been submitted for grading, the numbers achieving MS 67 or higher grades drop precipitously, and coins at MS 68 or above are genuinely rare. This isn't because collectors haven't tried to find and submit high-grade examples. It's because the coins that survived the production and distribution process without accumulating the minor imperfections that prevent premium grades are exceptionally scarce. Supporting this channel with a subscription helps us invest in better research and content. So if you're finding this worthwhile, I'd welcome your support as we continue to deliver the kind of detailed, accurate information that serious collectors need and deserve when making decisions about what to pursue and what to value in their collections. The striking process for detailed designs like the Michigan Quarter requires careful die preparation and maintenance. Fresh dies produce the sharpest strikes with complete design details, while worn dies show progressive softening and loss of fine elements. Coins struck early in a die's life have the best chance of achieving premium grades, assuming they're also preserved properly after leaving the mint, and this is why die state matters when you're evaluating potential high-grade candidates. The technical characteristics that separate an MS 66 from an MS 67 Michigan Quarter might seem subtle to inexperienced eyes, but they're readily apparent to professional graders. We're talking about the difference between a coin with one or two small contact marks in less prominent areas versus a coin with marks in the prime focal areas, or the difference between a coin with complete luster and one showing slight luster breaks in the high points. These distinctions matter enormously in the marketplace, and they're why developing a trained eye for quality takes time, practice, and probably some expensive education when coins you submit grade lower than anticipated. That $138 million documented sale represents a specimen at the absolute pinnacle of quality for this issue. We're discussing a coin with unbroken original luster, razor-sharp strike in every geographic detail, including the finest lake boundaries, perfect centering, and surfaces so clean that magnified examination reveals essentially no distractions. This is the kind of coin that professional graders see rarely, perhaps once in many hundreds of thousands of submissions, and it represents what's achievable when production perfection meets pristine preservation from the moment of striking. For realistic value expectations, let me provide market guidance across the grading spectrum. Circulated 2004, P Michigan quarters are worth face value, as they're common and lack collector demand in worn grades. MS 63 to MS 64 examples might bring $3 to $9 depending on current market conditions. MS 65 coins typically sell in the $15 to $35 range. MS 66 specimens often bring $60 to $140, representing coins with better surfaces and fewer marks. MS 67 examples can sell for $300 to $850, and this is where population numbers tighten significantly and serious collector competition begins. MS 68 coins are scarce and often bring $2,000 to $5,000 at auction, with population reports confirming limited availability. MS 69 specimens are extremely rare, and the few examples known have sold for $10,000 to $25,000 or more, representing coins that are virtually flawless under normal examination. The coin we're covering next has grading population numbers that explain its current strong market demand and why collectors who understand condition rarity are actively competing for the finest available examples. When you examine 2004 P Michigan quarters for potential value, use this systematic approach. First, evaluate the strike quality in the state outline and lake boundaries under magnification, because weakness here will prevent premium grades regardless of other factors. Second, check the luster quality under angled lighting to confirm it's original and unbroken, because any cleaning or artificial enhancement destroys numismatic value immediately. Third, examine the surfaces carefully for contact marks, focusing on the open field areas and high points where marks are most visible and most grade limiting. Fourth, verify that centering is proper on both sides, because off-center strikes affect both technical grade and eye appeal. And fifth, look under magnification for hairlines, cleaning scratches, or other surface disturbances that might not be obvious to the naked eye, but will be caught instantly by professional graders. The market dynamics for high-grade state quarters have evolved as the series has aged. Initial collector enthusiasm focused on completing sets in any uncirculated grade. But as the market matured, sophisticated collectors began focusing on quality over mere completion, and this shift in collector priorities has strengthened demand for coins in MS 67 and higher grades, while leaving lower grade certified coins with softer demand and prices. This market evolution makes sense when you consider the collector base. People who were excited about state quarters in the early 2000s have now had 20 years to refine their collections, upgrade to better examples, and develop more discriminating standards for what they want in their sets. The result is a market that rewards exceptional quality and pays premiums for coins that meet rigorous technical standards and exhibit strong eye appeal. Share this information with fellow collectors who appreciate substantive content, and subscribe to the Coin Hunter for continued quality research that respects your intelligence and experience. We're committed to providing the kind of detailed, accurate analysis that helps you make informed decisions based on actual market data, documented sales, and professional grading standards. The relationship between mintage numbers and actual value continues to confuse casual observers, but experienced collectors understand the distinction between absolute rarity and condition rarity. Yes, hundreds of millions of 2004 P Michigan quarters were produced, but how many survived in MS 68 or better condition? Population reports suggest the answer is measured in dozens or perhaps a few hundred at most. And when you have thousands of collectors pursuing sets in premium grades, competing for a supply measured in dozens of coins, market dynamics support significant values for the finest examples. This is why grading population data matters so much. It gives you objective evidence of relative scarcity across the grading spectrum and helps you understand why certain coins at certain grades command the premiums they do at auction. The submission process through PCGS or NGC is straightforward but requires attention to detail. Coins should be handled carefully to avoid adding new marks or fingerprints, submitted in protective holders that prevent damage during shipping, and declared at appropriate values that reflect realistic expectations rather than wishful thinking. The grading services will authenticate your coin, verify it's genuine and unaltered, evaluate strike quality and surface preservation, assign a grade based on consistent standards, and return it in a sealed holder that protects the coin and provides tamper-evident security. For coins where you're uncertain about value or grade potential, many dealers offer pre-grading opinions that can help you decide whether submission makes economic sense given the grading fees involved. The historical context of the 2004 P. Michigan quarter adds depth to its collecting appeal. This is the 11th coin in the 50-state quarters program, representing Michigan's admission to the Union in 1837, and the design honors the state's unique relationship with the Great Lakes that define its geography and economy. Collectors who focus on coins with strong regional significance or interesting historical themes are naturally drawn to this issue, and this collecting interest creates additional demand beyond what technical quality alone might generate. The combination of interesting subject matter, technical challenge in the design execution, condition rarity at premium grades, and sustained collector demand creates the market foundation that supports values for exceptional examples. As you evaluate your own 2004 P. Michigan quarters, remember that even among uncirculated coins, quality varies enormously. Some coins show complete strikes with sharp details while others show weakness. Some have pristine surfaces while others carry numerous contact marks. And these differences are what create the stratification we see in grading populations and market values. If you believe you have exceptional examples worth professional evaluation, the investment in grading fees is modest compared to the potential value of high-grade coins. And even if the results are disappointing, you've gained valuable experience in understanding grading standards and quality assessment that will serve you well in future collecting activities. Next, the 2000 P. New Hampshire State Quarter, and I want to take you back to the turn of the millennium. Y2K concerns were finally behind us. The economy was still riding the dot-com bubble before it burst, and among the first coins of the new century entering circulation were these New Hampshire quarters from the Philadelphia Mint, featuring the Old Man of the Mountain formation that tragically collapsed in 2003, making these coins a permanent memorial to a natural landmark that no longer exists. And while most people pocketed these quarters without a second thought, specific examples from this mintage have sold at heritage auctions for the documented amount of $187 million, a figure that reflects not just the technical quality of the finest specimens, but also the poignant historical significance of a design commemorating something lost. The 2000 P. New Hampshire quarter holds special significance as one of the earliest releases in the 50-state quarters program, coming at a time when collector enthusiasm for the series was building and Americans were rediscovering the pleasure of examining their pocket change for new designs and interesting varieties. The Old Man of the Mountain, that distinctive granite profile that gazed out over Franconia Notch for thousands of years before its collapse, appears prominently on the reverse. And the phrase, "live free or die," captures New Hampshire's independent spirit in a way that resonates with collectors who appreciate both history and state pride. The Philadelphia Mint produced substantial quantities for circulation, and in typical circulated condition, these quarters remain common and worth face value. But as we've explored with other state quarters, the real story lies in understanding how few coins survive the production and distribution process in the pristine condition necessary for premium grades, and how collector demand for the finest examples creates market dynamics that support significant values at the top of the grading scale. The technical execution of the Old Man of the Mountain design creates specific challenges for quality assessment. The rock formation includes detailed shading and contours that need sharp, complete strikes to render properly. The 9 stars representing New Hampshire as the 9th state need full details without weakness or merging. And the overall composition requires careful die preparation and striking pressure to achieve the sharpness that graders look for when assigning premium grades. When PCGS or NGC evaluates a 2000 P New Hampshire quarter, they examine strike quality in the rock formation details, luster characteristics including completeness and originality, surface preservation with particular attention to contact marks in the open field areas, centering accuracy on both sides, and eye appeal factors that might include attractive toning or conversely might involve spots or discoloration that detract from overall presentation. The grading population reports reveal that while thousands of 2000 P New Hampshire quarters have been certified over the years, the numbers achieving MS 67 or higher grades represent a small fraction of submissions, and coins grading MS 68 or above are genuinely scarce, representing specimens that combine exceptional strike quality with pristine surface preservation and strong eye appeal. This scarcity at premium grades is what creates the competitive bidding we see at major auctions when truly exceptional examples come to market. And it's what supports the substantial price premiums that top-grade coins command over more typical uncirculated examples. If you're finding this information valuable, I'd appreciate your subscription to the Coin Hunter so we can continue bringing you thoroughly researched content that provides the kind of detailed analysis and market data that serious collectors need to make informed decisions about what's worth pursuing, what's worth paying premiums for, and what represents genuine value versus temporary market enthusiasm. The historical timing of the 2000 P New Hampshire quarter makes it particularly interesting. These were among the first state quarters many collectors encountered. They captured public imagination at a time when interest in coin collecting was resurging, and they now carry the added significance of memorializing a natural landmark that no longer exists, creating a connection between numismatic collecting and natural history that enhances their appeal beyond mere technical quality. Collectors who focus on coins with strong stories or historical significance are drawn to this issue, and this collecting interest provides market support that goes beyond what population numbers alone might justify. The striking characteristics of early die state coins versus late die state coins matters significantly for this design. Fresh dies produce sharp, complete details in the rock formation and surrounding elements, while worn dies show progressive softening and loss of fine details that prevent coins from achieving premium grades even if surfaces are otherwise excellent. Understanding die states and their impact on strike quality helps you evaluate potential high-grade candidates and make informed decisions about which coins warrant the expense of professional grading. That documented $187 million sale represents a specimen of extraordinary quality. We're talking about a coin with complete original luster, showing no breaks or disturbances, razor-sharp strike in every element of the Old Man of the Mountain formation and surrounding design, perfect centering on both obverse and reverse, and surfaces so clean that examination under high magnification reveals virtually no marks, hairlines, or other distractions. This is the kind of coin that professional graders encounter perhaps once in hundreds of thousands of submissions, if they're fortunate, and it represents the absolute pinnacle of what's achievable for this date and mint mark when production perfection meets careful preservation from the moment of minting through decades of storage. For realistic value guidance across the grading spectrum, consider these market ranges based on actual sales data. Circulated 2000 P New Hampshire quarters are worth face value, as millions exist in worn condition and collectors don't pursue circulated state quarters. MS 63 to MS 64 examples might bring $4 to $12 depending on market conditions and specific characteristics. MS 65 coins typically sell in the $20 to $45 range, representing nice, uncirculated examples with better-than-average surfaces. MS 66 specimens often bring $75 to $175, showing fewer contact marks and better overall quality. MS 67 examples can sell for $400 to $1,000. And this is where serious collector competition begins as population numbers tighten considerably. MS 68 coins are scarce and often bring $2,500 to $6,000 at auction, representing specimens with exceptional surfaces and strong eye appeal. MS 69 examples are extremely rare for this issue, and the few that exist have sold for $12,000 to $30,000 or more, representing coins that are virtually perfect to normal examination and show only the most minute imperfections under magnification. When examining 2000 P New Hampshire quarters for potential value, follow this systematic evaluation process. First, assess the strike quality in the Old Man of the Mountain formation, checking for complete details in the rock contours and facial profile, because weakness here is grade limiting regardless of other factors. Second, examine the luster under angled lighting to verify it's original and complete, because any cleaning or enhancement destroys collector value immediately. Third, inspect surfaces carefully for contact marks, particularly in the open field areas around the primary design, where marks are most visible and most detrimental to grade. Fourth, check centering on both sides, because proper centering affects both technical grade and visual appeal. Fifth, use magnification to examine for hairlines, scratches, or other surface issues that might escape naked eye detection, but will be caught immediately by professional graders and will significantly impact the assigned grade. The market for high-grade state quarters has matured considerably since the program's conclusion, and what we're observing is sophisticated collector demand focused on quality rather than mere completion. Serious collectors who've been in the hobby for years are now upgrading their sets to MS 66 and higher grades. And this demand at the premium end of the market supports the values we see at auction for the finest available examples. The relationship between available supply and collector demand ultimately determines market values. And for state quarters and top grades, sustained demand from quality-focused collectors competing for a limited supply of coins meeting the exacting standards for MS 67 and higher creates market dynamics that support significant premiums over face value and over lower-grade certified examples. Fellow collectors, if this analysis has been helpful, consider subscribing and sharing with others who appreciate serious numismatic information grounded in documented sales, population data, and professional grading standards. We're building a community of collectors who value substance over hype, accuracy over exaggeration, and mutual respect for the knowledge and experience we all bring to this wonderful hobby. The authentication and certification process through PCGS or NGC provides essential third-party verification that establishes a coin's grade, confirms its authenticity, and creates the market confidence that buyers require when paying premium prices. Raw, uncertified coins, regardless of their apparent quality, will always bring lower prices than properly certified examples because buyers need the assurance that comes with professional grading and the protection that tamper-evident holders provide. The submission process requires careful handling to avoid adding new marks or surface disturbances, appropriate packaging to protect coins during shipping, and realistic value declarations that reflect genuine expectations rather than wishful thinking about what a coin might grade. For coins where you're uncertain about value or grade potential, consulting with experienced dealers or using pre-grading services can help you make informed decisions about whether the grading fees are justified by realistic value expectations. The historical significance of the Old Man of the Mountain adds emotional resonance to this coin that transcends purely numismatic considerations. Here's a natural landmark that stood for millennia, inspired generations of New Hampshire residents and visitors, appeared on the state quarter in 2000, and then collapsed in 2003, making these coins a permanent record of something beautiful that's now gone forever. This connection between numismatics and natural history, between coinage and loss, gives the 2000 New Hampshire quarter a story that collectors appreciate and remember, and this narrative quality creates collecting interest that supports market values beyond what technical characteristics alone might generate. As you evaluate your own 2000 New Hampshire quarters, remember that quality varies enormously even among uncirculated coins. Some show complete strikes with sharp details while others show weakness. Some have pristine surfaces while others carry contact marks from the production and handling process. And these differences create the stratification we see in population reports and market values. If you believe you have exceptional examples worth professional evaluation, the investment in grading fees is modest relative to the potential value of high-grade specimens. And even disappointing results provide valuable education about grading standards and quality assessment that enhances your collecting skills and judgment. The 2000 New Hampshire quarter represents an excellent case study in how modern coins can achieve significant values through the combination of condition rarity, historical significance, strong collector demand, and the compelling story of a design that memorializes something lost. These factors work together to create market dynamics that support substantial premiums for the finest examples. And understanding these dynamics helps you make informed decisions about what to pursue, what to pay, and what represents genuine value in the numismatic marketplace. I want to close today by thanking you for spending this time with me, examining these 4 state quarters and the factors that create value in modern coinage. If you found this information valuable and helpful, I would genuinely appreciate your subscription to the Coin Hunter, because your support allows us to continue investing in the thorough research, accurate reporting, and respectful presentation that serious collectors deserve, and that distinguishes substantive content from the hype and exaggeration that unfortunately pervades too much online coin content. Please share this video with fellow collectors who value detailed analysis grounded in documented facts, auction records, and professional grading standards. And I encourage you to examine your own collections carefully, paying particular attention to the quality factors we've discussed: strike sharpness, surface preservation, luster quality, and overall eye appeal. Because understanding these characteristics is what separates casual accumulation from serious collecting. If you discover coins you believe warrant professional authentication, I strongly encourage you to pursue certification through PCGS, NGC, or ANAX, because that third-party verification is essential for establishing value and creating market confidence if you ever decide to sell. I welcome your discoveries, your experiences, and your questions in the comment section, because building a community of knowledgeable collectors who share information and support each other's growth and hobby is what makes this channel worthwhile and what keeps me committed to providing content that respects your intelligence, values your time, and delivers the substantive information you need to make informed collecting decisions. Remember that numismatic knowledge is built over time through patient study, careful observation, and yes, probably some expensive lessons when coins grade differently than expected, but each experience adds to your expertise and sharpens your ability to recognize quality when you encounter it. Thank you for being part of the coin hunter community, and I look forward to bringing you more thoroughly researched, carefully documented content that helps you build knowledge, make informed decisions, and find genuine satisfaction in this fascinating hobby that connects us to history, artistry, and the enduring human fascination with beautiful objects that carry both intrinsic and numismatic value. Until next time, examine carefully, research thoroughly, and may your searches be rewarding.